I'm wrapping up my cat painting. I'm just doing some touch-ups right now. And while I'm doing that, I'm going through a bunch of my photos for my next big painting. And it will be a bigger painting, a lot bigger. I came up with this list of possible contenders, but I haven't decided just yet. I am going to do a small painting first as a warm-up. And one of these photos is actually going to be the small painting. I'm not going to mention which one. It'll be a surprise for the next video. But one of these will end up becoming a large-scale painting. And that's something I have not done for a while. In a way, I'm letting you guys choose what painting I will do next by going through these photos. And leaving a comment on which one you like to see done as a painting and why also. That'll be helpful. Hello and welcome. My name is Charles. I go by Bob. I'm not your typical painter. And today I'm going to show you how I select photos for potential paintings. My thinking process, what I look for, and areas that look outright fun to paint. I'm going to show a lot of photos in this video. So, grab yourself a cup of coffee or some water or whatever beverage you drink and sit down and relax for a little bit and check out some of these photos. I recently watched a video on YouTube about how to use photos in a painting. And the idea was to take some parts of the photo that you liked and eliminate other parts that you didn't and kind of like merge them together. I did find that very interesting, but a while back I came up with an idea that was completely different. And the idea was, why not just become a better photographer? When picking a photo for a painting, there's a lot of things I look into. The color, the composition, the subject matter, and some of the textures and details that I am going to try to capture and portray. There's other factors too. And you'll notice I'm a fan of dynamic compositions, and I'll talk more about that. Anyway, let's get on with the photos. The first photo I'm going to talk about is the Pramoritsa Bridge. Obviously there's no bridge in the photo, but I took it while standing on it. A lot of people do take photographs of the bridge, but I actually liked the reflection of the river, and I thought it was going to make a great subject matter for a painting. The photo has this nice sense of being calm, but because of all the contrasts and lines of the trees and reflections, I feel it is very dynamic at the same time. And I like how the river has a snake-like appearance as it curves and recedes into the distance. Some of the difficulties I'm probably going to have doing this painting will probably be all the trees. But instead of copying each tree for tree, the ones more into the distance are going to be more of a impression of trees, where it'll be just like patterns of lines and color that give the illusion of a lot of trees. I do like the fine details of the ripples and how the sky is reflected into the water. Plus you can see rocks. Now one reason I will not do this painting is because a while back I did a bridge painting, but with the trees in the winter. And I kind of don't want to do the same subject just yet. The second photo is a abandoned church, which is on the top of the Vatolokos village in Grevena. It has seen a lot of better days, but there's some beauty to it. And I want to capture that in the painting. It's amazing how a while back people used to walk up this hill to go to church, and now they're lazy and drive just a quarter of a kilometer. Kind of like the photo of the bridge. There's a lot of nice contrasts and lines in this photo, and there's also a nice illusion of the sun. I like the up-close detail of the grass and also the fallen leaves and minor plants. The tree branches have a lot of nice intricate twists and turns, which I will kind of distort a little bit, maybe pointing more towards the church. And then there's the little details of the church itself, such as the brickwork, which my father says he actually worked on, the windows that are falling apart, the cracks, and some of the imperfections in the tile. Plus there's nice sections of the trees on how the sunlight reacts to it, and that looks very fun to paint, as well as capturing the bark texture. The third photo is a more simple one. It involves a cloudy sky over the mountains and hills. It is more of a calmer painting, with the slice of contrast occurring dead in the center. To be honest, it's not high on my list, but I thought maybe it might make a great small painting. If I was to do it, I'd definitely eliminate the power line and have an emphasis of showing distance by making these trees more detailed for sure, and push back the mountains more. The fourth photo is probably going to be the most complicated one, and it's actually a pathway near my home, of an abandoned home. The pathway leads downwards to the lower level of the house, and a person in a wheelchair used to live there. There's a lot of things I love about this photo. The complexity of all the plants. Make no mistake, this is a very dynamic photo, and it's going to involve a lot of perspective leading towards the center, and also making a slight twist to the right where the chair is. And if I was to do this, I would probably distort the perspective even more. As for detail, I just love the rust on the bars, each leaf, the sunlight, the shadows of the bars, and the texture of the pathway and how it eroded over the years. Plus, I love the foliage in the back, the nice purples, and another pathway that's behind as well. If I do choose this, I'm still debating if I should have the chair upright or downright, because I did pick it up at one point. But a reason not to do this? Well, it is very complex. But a driving motivation for me to do it is my father saying that I will never do a painting of that scene, and also my fiance too, saying people don't care about things like this. The fifth photo is another cloud photo. Same mountains as earlier, different day. This one's even more simple, but the one thing I do love about it is the lighting. There's some nice beautiful golden orange light beaming from the sun that's taking a peek through the clouds on the top right. Again, simple composition with a slice of contrast dead in the center, and there's little hints of light throughout and the sun on the top. I like how the light showers through the clouds and how the sun takes a peek from the top. The sixth photo is a scene I encountered while taking one of my hikes, and it's a fallen tree. I like how the curvature of the tree leads the viewer, kind of like a snake, towards the center, then all the way to the far right. It's a very simple photo, but there's a lot of complexity in the simplicity. For example, the texture of the tree that has fallen is going to make or break the painting. Plus, the grass, going from very detailed to less detailed towards the back. And lastly, the hills in the distance, which will be more of a blur in the painting, but visible, and will help establish that sense of distance from detailed to less detailed. The seventh photo is sheep, and these sheep were actually coming towards me at one point, which is kind of cool. And one thing I'm very disappointed in is the golden light I saw that day was not captured in the photo. And I feel like this painting should have more of an orange tone. So if I do choose to do these sheep, it'll be something I will emphasize. This is more of a calmer painting. As you can see, there's not a lot of vertical lines. Sometimes a nice peaceful photo will make a great painting. And I do like the hills in the distance. And there's also these hills more in the distance to the left. But obviously it's going to be the sheep that's going to make this painting, and a lot of emphasis will go into these little cute animals. The eighth photo is a building on top of the hills that's actually nearby my home, and I took it on a day where it was about to rain. There's something chaotic I like about this photo, and the color. You got your RGB here, blue, green, and red. It's a very dynamic photo which leads the viewer dead into the center, and a lot of detail to capture as well. The clouds are going to take a nice chunk of the painting. Obviously I will eliminate the power lines. The hills in the distance, I don't know if I'll be able to capture it, but there'll be a windmill in the distance as well. And then there's the building. That red will draw a lot of attention. Now, reasons why I would not do this, it's kind of complex. There's a lot of things going on in it, and honestly, I might not be able to pull it off, but the color is very lovely, and I just love the contrast of light and dark. The ninth photo is actually a more peaceful one, and this is from a stroll I took with my brother. Sorry that it's vertical, but besides it being peaceful, what I do like about it is how you're led into the center from the outlining darks and deeper into the path. There's a lot of up-close detail that I would love to capture in the painting. For example, this man-made path of wood and the grass, how it reacts differently according to the sunlight and shade, and the overall brightness of those trees more in the distance. And I like how the path looks ambiguous, well hidden from all the branches and leaves. But up close, there's lots of little branches, lots of little leaves, and bark texture. And this looks very fun to paint. The 10th photo is another peaceful one. It's from one of my walks, and it's overlooking the sky with the hills below. Yes, these are the same hills from the sheep photo. But in this one, I just love the clouds and how the sun's light is trying to break from the top. Though it's very calm, if you eliminate the contrast and just go by the shapes of the light and dark, it's actually a very dynamic painting. But it's the calmness of the contrast, as it's not very, very dark or very, very bright, except for this slice of darkness in the center, which is that tree and the hills. And I do love the up-close detail of the grass and those hills in the distance. Both these here and these here will help establish depth. The 11th photo is not as complex as it looks initially because it's a close-up and the subject matter is very simple. But don't be deceived. It's a lot of curvature that leads the viewer to the right. And one thing I probably will do differently if I do this photo as a painting, which is dull down the top right to kind of trap the viewer a little more in the painting. But what's going to make this painting even more is the depth, and all these different leaves and layers of leaves is going to really make it something. Lots of different variations of greens, from the nice bright ones to the darker ones that are hiding in that crevice, and also the dead grass, the little acorns. This acorn and that acorn will help establish a sense of scale. And even though it's going to be a minor part of the painting, I will detail this little sucker. And then there's the cracks, from the ones that are very deep to the very minor ones. And of course, more little plants coming out. This scene takes place in Grevena, in a theater near the woods. The 12th photo, though it looks simple, it might end up being one of my most complex ones. It was one of the last photos I took while I was in Greece. And it shows the village of Milia, which is actually the older part of the village. The newer ones built more on the top, which is not pictured. The simple shapes that are made from the color don't show that it's a very dynamic painting. And I like that. I like the simple bodies of white, blue, and green. It's on the calmer side. But what would really make this a wonderful painting is a sense of detail in the front, which is the grass. And there's little flowers, barely visible. The little tree line that goes from bigger to smaller. Again, you have this sun that's breaking through the clouds. And then there's the hills. This is the first hill that shows some of the buildings there and some little pathways and roads. And I just love how this road snakes up that hill. Plus you have these hills in the background too. And lastly, there's the other hill that's there and more trees. And one thing I would like to try to capture in the painting is how this fades as you go in this way. And the 13th photo is probably the most peaceful one. This was almost like an afterthought. My father told me that there's a stream between Bartolocos and Milia. So on one of my last hikes, I actually walked furthermore onto the distance. And I couldn't see the stream because it's hidden from all the hills. But as I got closer, I heard water running. And I came across this little pond that got formed from the stream. Almost like a hidden garden among the forests. And it appears almost as no one visits it. Composition is very mellow and almost centered. I like how the trees form some contrast. Darker ones on the left, brighter ones on the right. And almost has a yin-yang effect. The darker ones have a little opening. And the ones that are more enveloped in light have some darkness also. But what will really make this is a sense of distance. I want the viewer to feel like they're there. So the best way to do it is more detail in the front and less as you recede into the distance, where individual grass blades become just smudges of paint. The trees will be on the difficult side, with all honesty. There's a lot of intricate colors and branches, but I'm up for it. And then there's the pond itself, how it reflects the sky and the trees. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. And again, if there's a certain photo you would like to see become a painting, let me know in the comments and list the number and why. Once again, my name is Charalambos. I go by Bob. I'm not your typical painter. And stay tuned for more. Also, check out my Not Your Typical Photos account, where I've taken other photos as well. Anyway, thanks for watching, and bye.